Hi, family. Okay, so we're still continuing with the subject on narcissism and kind of the dark triad, but really focusing more on the narcissist. And that just tends to be something that we more prevalent you see more prevalently, because, or at least I hear about more prevalently, because those are typically in relationships, and it can go both ways. It can be the man in the relationship, it could be the female in the relationship, but typically where there's relationship problem, disharmony, confusion, typically you got some of that going on in the relationship, so it just tends to be more present. I got a call from someone and we were chatting, and this person was dealing with or has dealt with a relationship with someone that, though she's not very familiar with narcissism, I believe, just based on things that have been shared with me, may show signs of a little bit of narcissism. And so I just wanted to share as an example, and hopefully she'll get a chance to check out one of these videos, and or these videos, and that's probably a little bit of the impetus that made me go ahead and come forward, because I have no problem at all sharing my story. Like, I have played Boo-Boo the Fool over and over and over and over. Now, if you talk to a therapist or professional, they're going to say that's not Boo-Boo the Fool. These people are highly manipulative, right? And then I also, because I do have a strong will and a strong sense of self, so I just had to insert this in the video after the fact, because my sense of denial is so strong, I couldn't even finish the sentence to say how hellified my sense of denial is. I have a crazy sense of denial. So even though I might have a strong sense of self, a strong sense of what I want and where I want to be and all of that kind of stuff, I have a hellified strong denial that would allow me to overlook so much. And that's not just with men, that's with women, that's with friends, that's with family. However, it tends to be to my detriment more often than not in the situation with relationships with men. So that is, you're going to see this inserted in there, and then I'm going to go right back to this video. Thanks for the mini break. My weakness, though, is a desire for family. I want family. I want a husband. I want to have that relationship. And that has always been something that I kind of wore on my shoulder. And because of that, because of things in childhood, feeling like I missed that family, I wanted to create that. And I wanted my son to experience that and all of that. And so what would happen oftentimes is the people or the men that I meet, you know, of course they see that. I mean, they pick that up. They pick up that possibly I'm a strong woman, I'm somewhat successful, and you know, and I'm doing it in every way, you know, in every aspect of my life, except there's this missing person, which is this man that just needs to be plugged in there, and it's all perfect after that. At least that's how it went in my mind. But and so I would attract a certain type of man because of that need that was there, that neediness that was there, or that quote unquote missing piece that was there. And so I think I'm getting, I digress, but let's get back to, so the point is, when I was talking to this person, I could relate to where she was, because she shared in some of the similar things that I had, some of the similar feelings, some of the not wanting to be alone, not wanting to let your family go, and all of these things. And here's the bottom line with that, though. When you're dealing with someone in a long-term or short-term relationship, but in this case we're talking many years, we're talking about more than 2 decades, so this isn't some short fly-by-night, this is someone that you were fully engaged with, and you realize that it's done and that they've moved on, and they've moved on quickly. As a matter of fact, they moved on before the relationship was over. And just based on a little bits and pieces that I got, pretty sure this person definitely seems to meet the description and characteristics of a narcissist. Definitely seems to meet the description and characteristics of someone who exploits others for their own benefit, who uses some of the tools that we've talked about in the 7 red flags, triangulation, using other women against you, or keeping them in the circle that keeps you always kind of off balance. Those are all tools that a manipulative or exploitive person uses. It keeps you off balanced. It gives them some sense of high value. There's a guy out on, I'm scared to mention his name because, oh my God, he's a beast with it. But it's called AML, Alpha Male Strategies, AMS, Alpha Male Strategies. And he is teaching a lot of the tools of narcissists. Now, he calls them alpha males, right? Alpha male strategies. But the things that he describes, the things that he talks about, his tone, his language, his intonation, his description of women, his whole being screams narcissist. So, or at least whether I'm not saying that he is one, but I'm saying he's definitely studied them, because that is what he's teaching, a lot of those behaviors. And so with that, if you're curious, go check out his page. He's out on YouTube as well, and has hundreds of thousands of followers. So I mean, these men are watching this stuff, because it ain't women watching this man, trust me. But anyway, with that, at the bottom line is, we have to watch out for ourselves. And the scenario that I was talking to this person about this weekend has to do with once the relationship's over. So after the discard, and it's called discard because typically narcissists, those type of people, they need you for supply. And so discard is basically what it is, throwing you in the trash. Basically, they've used you up. You are an object for them. Okay, so you've met some kind of need, financial need, sexual need, societal need. Like, some men really need to be married. They need to have a wife. There are gay men who don't even like women that need to have a wife for the job, for the family, for the church, for all of that, to have that in place so that they can continue to live their authentic life behind closed doors or in the closet. So you never know what someone's, as far as a narcissist is using you as an object. Just like if you have a picture that you want to hang, you grab a hammer and you're going to use that hammer to put the nail in the wall to hang the picture. The hammer and the nail for you are tools. You don't care about the hammer. You don't love the hammer. You don't feel bad that the hammer's hitting the nail. You don't, if the picture falls or the nail breaks or the hammer breaks, you don't care. You just go buy another one. Basically, if you think about it, that's the same kind of concept that a narcissist has for us, for a woman, or if it's the other way, if it's a woman, a female narcissist, how they have for a man. And basically they are just objects to be used for whatever that purpose is at that time. And then once they're done, they're discarded. And in this particular situation, this person is in the after divorce phase, in the discard phase. There's a whole nother relationship that's now being broadcast and out in public and around family and on social media and all of these things. And that's very hurtful. So for someone who is a real human being who has feelings, that's painful. And it's very, 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 very difficult to get how you can be with someone for that length of time and not care and just go on. I mean, I've been married 5 times, and for each relationship that I've been in, I had a unique connection with each of those people that didn't go away. It's not gone. It's there for each of those people. It's there. Even the casual, more short-term dating type relationships, whatever that connection was for me, that's still alive and there. Just because a relationship doesn't work doesn't mean we have to be enemies or we have to hate each other or whatever. Just may not work. But I will also not intentionally do something to be hurtful to someone else, right? And I'm grateful that no one has done that to me either. no one's intentionally set out to hurt me, harm me. Well, actually, had some threats. Don't know how, I did have some threats and some stalking stuff, but no. So let's just not count that. Scoop, on to the next. Okay, so, but the bottom line is, in this particular situation, one of the questions that's asked, and has been asked to me so many times, I think I started my recovery work on this stuff initially back in 2005, and then I got better, got in a relationship, remarried, got happy, went on, and then and got back out, and then ended up back working on a lot of this stuff, the same stuff again. But the question that has been asked over since I've been in recovery with this has been, did he ever love me? Did he ever love me? And when you talk to people, you therapists or whoever, I don't know that I've asked that. I'm sure I asked that question. I just don't remember. In situations where it was a narcissist that I was dealing with, I'm sure I asked that question. And these are people that I wasn't married to, right? So I'm sure I asked that of whoever was walking me through recovery. But typically the answer is no. They just used you, and that was it. They were using you. They needed money, or they needed this, or they needed access, or they needed a place to stay, or they needed, some help with their kids, or whatever it was at that time. And that was typically the response. But my response to that is a little bit different. My response is, no, they don't love you in the way that you love them, the way that you would describe love, the way that I would describe love. A narcissist is pretty much incapable of that. The closest thing that they can get to that is the love that they feel for a child who is an extension of them. And I would say that's more with narcissistic women, but that's still limited. With the narcissistic men, everything is a reflection of them. Everything. So even you as their wife of however umpteen years were a reflection of them. So to the extent that they love themselves in that image that they needed for whatever that purpose was for them, for their narcissistic supply, they loved you for that. So kind of like not even like a drug addict would love a drug. It's not even that much. I'm trying to think of an example, and I'm having a hard time thinking of an example of what that is. I guess maybe like I might love my car. Like I need my car to get back and forth to work. I need my car to get to appointments. I need my car to get to the store, to pick up my son, to whatever. So I know that sounds weird because I do not love my car, right? Because I understand what love is. But for someone who doesn't, and who is narcissistic and who has no empathy, it would be the equivalent. They would love you like they love their car. So you serve a purpose. When you stop serving that purpose, then they just put somebody else in that place. And the one thing about narcissists that is almost always the case is you were never you might have been the primary. I think I talked about the narcissist is going to put that primary person on their arm to fulfill some supply, that primary supply. So if that's a family image or whatever that is, you perfectly fit it, which is why he selected you, why he married you, why he stayed there to the extent that he did stay there. All of that, you served that purpose. But there were most likely always other sources of supplies on the outside, almost always, and they are going to be getting that, and that's always going to be there. So at the point of transition, which is the time that you got discarded and they went on to person number 2, now that person number 2 is just the second primary person that may not actually be number 2. There might have been 2 in between, you see what I'm saying? And then they, but that just happens to be the one that floated to the top so that you are aware of her. But to answer the question, no. So it's that type of love. It's a very surface type of, you're meeting a need that I have, love. That's what it is, which isn't love, right? It isn't love. Okay, realistically on that. You met a need, you served a purpose. When your purpose was done, and whether that was allowing the kids to get to a certain point or whatever that purpose was, then it was done. And then he moved on. And so now the next person is going to get that same thing. So right now, whatever that primary need that he needs his supply for, that person who floated to the top out of the group, because trust me, there's a group, there's a harem. I've been a part of that. I know how it works, right? There's a group, but the one that floated to the top is meeting whatever that primary need is right now. And that's how they float to the top. Another thing to keep in mind, and I know you shared, and one of the things that was confusing is that he's still calling. That's called hoovering. Hoovering is what a narcissist does. And again, I'm not going to go into stuff to repeat everything that's already out there. Google narcissist hoovering and you'll find all kind of videos on it. But that's when, once it's over, the relationship's over, they circle back and they come back to just test to see if that water's still there. Not that they want you, or they're going to come back, or they're not even going to necessarily fall down and say I love you, none of that, but they're just going to stay close enough to the edge just to keep your attention and to check and see, because when you do that, you give them a form of narcissistic supply. One of the things that I talk about in the red flags video is triangulating, and that is where the narcissist keeps their exes, their babies' mamas, their ex-wives, their whoever can be a distraction in the current situation. So they basically keep these people in place and around just to keep the new person. Because what happens when you get in a new relationship and you're all excited, and then all of a sudden, he starts dropping hints to her that, oh, my ex texted me today, or my ex called me today, or this is what's going to X, I've got to go over here because the kids. As long as he keeps that going, he's getting supply from her, and he's getting supply from you. And then when you cut him off, or you text him, or you get upset, or you say, like, why are you doing, the fact that you're even noticing it is giving him supply. Okay, so what, again, back to what I shared in another video, what you want to do if you're involved with a toxic person, again, it doesn't matter what the label is. Doesn't matter if it's a narcissist or not. If this person is triangulating you, if they are putting you in a situation where when you get off the phone you're feeling provoked or jealous or whatever, and you're unable to move forward, then it's time to cut it off. It's time to go no contact. It's time to definitely get disconnected on any kind of social media. And God forbid, I know it's difficult when you share kids and that kind of scenario, but the time is going to come where you're going to have to cut that off and say, hey, your dealings with your dad, or now if your kids are under 12, that's different. Under 13, you kind of got to be in there. But when now it's cell phones and FaceTime and all that, you really don't have to be in the middle of that. So you don't have to allow the narcissist to use you, to use your kids to manipulate you. So that's something that you can choose to do something different with. Okay, and I think that's really where I was going with that. One thing though that I was sharing about myself when I was talking about me and getting in those situations, there is a 6-letter word called denial. I am a master at denial. Denial. And that is how I keep circling back into the same types of relationships and the same types of things, because I see those red flags that I went over, and then I said, well, that wasn't that. It wasn't that he was trying to manipulate. Like, his car really did break down, and he really did leave his wallet at home, and we're out to dinner, and he really did. Like, I have just this amazing way to implement denial, to allow myself to continue down the path. And so as I watch, like I said, I journal, and then I look back and I can just see like all the times that I've done it. And I have to stay very present. And that's about being in the moment and being present all the time, because what will happen is if I'm not present, I'll slip right back into it. And I had a friend once ask me, well, why is it when you're dating someone, and it may not even be that serious. I mean, it could be a year-long dating, or it could just be a 3-month dating. But whatever, you're dating someone and you decide that you're done dating them for whatever reason it is. You saw a red flag or whatever it is, and then you block them, like you cut them completely off. And she couldn't understand that. She's like, I don't understand that. Just don't answer the phone. Just don't talk to them, or whatever. But because I have such a strong ability to deny reality in situations of relationships, I know that to protect myself, I have to go no contact. That's something that I was taught very, at the beginning of my recovery in with this whole relationship addiction stuff. And I learned that I have to go no contact. It's one of the hardest things in the world for me to do. It's very difficult for me to keep it going. So I'm not telling you something that I haven't done. It's very difficult to do. But going no contact, that means no phone calls. That means no text. That means, if possible, changing your number. And if you can't, completely blocking their number if you can't change your number for whatever reason. That means disconnecting on social media. That means blocking them so they can't see your page, and blocking them so you can't see their page, because it works both ways. And just whatever ways that you typically, if you go to the same church, then possibly changing churches, whatever it is that you need to do. And it doesn't mean that it has to be a lifetime decision, but it does mean that you have to choose you right now. It's important to choose you, to get to a place of safety and space for you. And so with that, I'm going to sign off on this video. And for the person that prompted this whole series to get started today, hang in there. I mean, you're doing a great job. Get on YouTube. I've sent you some videos other than mine. I haven't sent you mine, but I've sent you some that have really been helpful to me. And so hopefully you'll be able to use those. And anyone else that's out there, definitely like, share, and subscribe. If you have a comment, or you want to share something, or you want me to touch on a subject, or you have a question, definitely leave the comments below, and I will be sure to respond. If you're dealing with what you believe to be some type of relationship addiction, or addiction to a person, which oftentimes happens, there's a chemical that happens in these types of relationships oftentimes. And that's a whole nother video. We're not going to go there, but it can trigger a dopamine addiction. It can trigger an addiction to the chemicals that are released from the brain. Okay. And so that person just showing up, you feel the chemicals, you feel a high, you float, just as if you had done a drug. So this is not for play. This is the real deal. And we're going to get into it, and we're going to get into the real deal. So hopefully you're willing to ride on this ride with me. And thank you for coming. Thank you for listening. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for those who don't necessarily like or share or subscribe, but they hit me up on text or phone or whatever, just to let me know, hey, I'm watching. I'm not necessarily commenting, but I'm watching. And they call and ask or comment about something that I know that I put out there. So I appreciate you guys. I love you guys, and have a great evening. Bye-bye.